Howdy, everybody. Today is Tuesday, September 13th, 2022, and the time is 5:30 p.m. We're here for the regular session of the Coppell City Council. There is a quorum present, so I will call the meeting to order. We will be convening into executive session in the first floor conference room. Our executive session is closed to the public. At the end of our executive session, I will come back and open the meeting to the public work session. We shouldn't be terribly long this evening. Thank you very much. Howdy, everybody. The time is 5:54 p.m., and we are beginning work session in the conference room. The public is invited to attend.
Into the foundation.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. We're going to begin work session. I need something bigger than a gavel. You got a real one?
I got a real one.
All right, we have 4 items, I believe, on work session tonight. We're going to start with item A, discussion regarding the agenda items. Council, you have any questions for our agenda tonight? I don't see anybody commenting, so let's go ahead and move on. Item B is a discussion regarding the winter averaging quote for sewer billing. Ms. Tien.
Good evening.
It's so hard to call you that instead of the water for. Water bill.
Oh, okay. Yeah, don't do that, sorry.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you this evening about winter averaging. Before I begin, I would like to take a moment to recognize Jerry Young. He's our business analyst that you've met before. And then Jerry Benetatos is also with us. He's our utility billing manager. Both of these folks were instrumental in gathering and analyzing the data and assisted in preparing the presentation this evening. And so I just really appreciate their support and wanted to recognize them. So this evening's presentation is keeping with the timeline that I provided to you regarding winter averaging. And the purpose of this evening's item is to provide you with information regarding winter averaging, and then at the end, obtain direction. Specifically this evening, I would like to share the guiding principles staff considers before bringing water sewer projects, ideas, and changes to council. I will explain what we mean by the term winter averaging, share why the city should move to winter averaging, provide the impact on residents, provide the impact on the city, share a few options, and then staff's recommendation, provide an overview of the ordinance, and then the next steps. So before I dive into winter averaging, I wanted to take a few minutes to share with you what staff considers when recommending changes to the water sewer related items, because we have been very intentional, planful, and strategic when recommending changes that affect the water sewer fund over the last several years. So staff considers 3 guiding principles when considering items to bring forward to council, and those principles are water sustainability and conservation, long-term financial and capital planning, and customer experience. And so when we did our first rate study in 2015, we developed a business plan for the water sewer fund. We were focused on long-term financial and capital planning. For example, the business plan included funding a water sewer infrastructure maintenance fund and outlined various future capital projects needed to sustain our water sewer system. And so by creating a business plan that included taking care of our water sewer system, we were also thinking about the customer experience. When customers turn on the faucet, they expect to receive water, and when they flush their toilets, they expect the flow to go to their sewer system. Next, after the development of the business plan, we recommended the Advanced Water Meter Project, and all 3 guiding principles were supported by that project. The advanced water meters, that was part of the long-term capital planning, and it impacted the financial health of the water sewer fund, as we saw a reduction in the amount of water loss under the advanced water meters when compared to the old water meters. Therefore, we began billing a higher percentage of the water that we actually was flowing through the meters to our customers. The meters also provided technology that allows staff to provide proactive customer service and provides a customer portal that allows customers to be in control of their water usage and therefore their water bill. All of that enhances the customer's experience. The customer portal, the Get to Know Your H2O, and various education efforts like the New Tech Partnership allow us to engage with and educate our customers concerning awareness of their water usage, which supports water sustainability and conservation efforts. Next, we recommended implementing the tiered water rate structure as a tool to impact water sustainability and conservation, long-term financial planning, and again, the customer experience. A tiered rate structure is used to influence water conservation, which can impact the demand placed on the water sewer system and the city's daily demand level needed, which impacts costs. In addition, we had spent time educating customers on how to use the customer portal to monitor usage, ways to conserve water both indoors and outdoors, and customers had a tool that allowed them to see how much water they're using and when they're using it, so they could easily identify where they're using water, whether it's indoors or outdoors, and make adjustments to their usage. So our guiding principle of customer experience would not have been met if we had not implemented a tiered rate structure prior to implementing the advanced water meter system. So most recently, we implemented new utility billing software. The new system provides an enhanced customer service portal that allows customers to update their account information, add bank draft information for reoccurring payments, and make changes to that information as needed whenever they want it. They no longer are required to contact utility billing Monday through Friday from 8 to 5. The system also allows us to set up winter averaging. However, we needed to make sure we were able to compare bills generated in the old billing system to bills generated in the new system. Since the old billing system was not set up for winter averaging, we needed to wait. The recommendation to wait was based on the guiding principles of long-term financial planning and customer experience. So simply put, we had to make sure bills were correct, and we needed to mirror the legacy system to do that. Sending out incorrect bills would have had a negative impact on the customer experience, and revenue would have been recorded incorrectly, which would pose a host of negative implication, one of which is an impact on the city's annual audit. So now that we have the system in place, we're here to recommend moving to winter averaging as the method to bill for the sewer service. And one last comment before I dive into winter averaging, and that's that we would not have accomplished the enhanced customer experience, the development of a long-term financial and capital plan, or be impacting water sustainability if you, the council, had not approved the projects and changes that I just covered. So now that you have a picture of the journey and the why behind the timing of the various changes, I would like to begin by answering the question, what is winter averaging? So winter averaging is a method used to bill residential customers for sewer services. And I'm going to say that again. Winter averaging is a method used to bill residential customers for sewer services. It's not used to bill commercial accounts. Commercial accounts typically have a separate irrigation meter for outside watering, and so irrigation meters do not incur a charge for sewer service since the meter is for outside watering only. And this difference is important to remember later in the presentation. So now again back to the question, what is winter averaging? Winter averaging uses water used during a winter time period to determine a customer's monthly sewer cost for the upcoming year. Winter averaging is designed for municipalities that are calculating sewer usage based on water usage. And so for the city of Coppell, the sewer service is not metered. Therefore, its usage is calculated in relationship to the water used, which is metered. Winter averaging is a method of stabilizing the sewer usage by calculating an average sewer usage to utilize for billing for sewer services over the next 12 months. Again, the average is calculated using a period of winter months. We did conduct an analysis of several nearby cities to determine which months to use, as well as how many months to use. Our recommendation is to utilize a 5-month period containing the months of November through March, and then removing the high and low months to determine an average. So we remove the high and low months to account for things like holiday gatherings or leaks that may skew the data to more than under normal circumstances, as well as if you travel for the holidays or for an extended period of time during the winter months, so your usage would be less than normal. Removing both the high and low months, which again may skew the data, provides a more accurate representation of an individual customer's usage that is flowing into the sewer system. So next, why would we want to utilize winter averaging? So we utilize winter averaging because, as we all know, large amounts of water usage in Texas during the summer months does not flow into the sewer system. Because this increase in usage during the summer is for outside watering, for things like irrigation systems, filling the pools, watering gardens, and even car washes, which again is usage that doesn't flow into the sewer system. Because sewer usage is not metered and is instead based on water usage, when utilizing winter months, it provides a more accurate picture of water usage that is actually entering the sewer system, since most outdoor watering, again, doesn't enter the sewer system. Currently, the city of Coppell, sewer is calculated in a 1-to-1 relationship with water usage that is capped at 13,000 gallons. The use of the cap does recognize that not all water goes into the sewer system, but this method treats all accounts the same, regardless of their individual water use. Winter averaging looks at each account on an individual basis and calculates the winter average for each individual account. Again, since the sewer flow is not metered, a more accurate representation of an individual account's flow into the system will be obtained using winter averaging. Further, we ultimately hope citizens will see this as an opportunity to control their sewer portion of their utility bill for the next 12 months by utilizing the customer portal to monitor their water conservation, which will ultimately impact the sewer portion of their water bill for the next 12 months. This is just another way we are putting customers in control of another portion of their utility bill. In addition, it's an attempt to encourage water conservation by encouraging citizens to be aware of their water usage during the winter by making sure sprinklers are either turned off or at least significantly reduced. So what's the impact on residents or residential accounts? Now that we shared what the winter averaging is and why we'd want to utilize winter averaging, let's take a look at the impact winter averaging on our residential customers based on the current water rates. So based on the time period of June 2021 through May of 2022, which is the time period that we implemented the tiered rate structure. We implemented the tiered rates in June of 2021. This chart shows the average impact on residential customers if winter averaging is implemented at the current rates. The chart shows that 63% of customers, represented by the blue area outlined in red, will see an average of a $4 decrease in the sewer portion of the utility bill. The taupe color, outlined in red, represents about an 8.5% of customers who will see a decrease of around $10. And the small grayish area outlined in red represents less than 1%, and that represents the number of customers who will see a decrease of around $35. The white area in between the blue and purple area, that represents customers who will see no change in the sewer portion of their utility bill, and it's less than 1% of the customers that fall into this category. Therefore, about 73% of residential customers, which in this section of the circle is outlined in red, will see either no impact or a reduction in the sewer portion of their utility bill. So taking this a step further, if we include the purple section of the circle, about 97% will see between a $5 increase to a $35 decrease in the sewer portion of their utility bill. So this leaves the 3% that will see an increase in their bill if they do not change their winter water usage. The 3% is represented at the top of the circle, from the top of the purple section to the first red line to the left. And then the black section, which is represented by the 102, somebody who would see an increase of $102, it's not visible, and that's 7 people that would be impacted by that. And so that percentage is just too small to be reflected on the graph. So now that you have, you know what the impact of the sewer service, what the impact on the resident is, what's the impact on the sewer service revenue of the city? So assuming residential customers do not change their water usage during the 5 winter months, winter averaging months, and rates are not changed, the impact would be a reduction in sewer service revenue of almost $164,000, which is shown in the last column. If residential customers decrease their usage by 10% during those months and rates are not changed, the impact would be about a $220,000 decrease in revenue, as shown in the next line in the third column. If they decrease their usage by 20% during those months, the impact is a decrease in revenue of almost $263,000. And then if they decrease their usage by 30% during the winter months, the impact is a reduction in revenue of almost $306,000. The middle column shows the average decrease in revenue per month per account. So if usage is unaltered, the average of all increases and decreases, then the average of all increases and decreases shown on the previous slide is a reduction of $1.19 per account per month. So keeping all this in mind, we're going to talk about options and then recommendations. So the first option, option 1, is to increase the base rate by $1.19, since this is the average decrease per month per account. Option 2 is to increase the base rate by $1 and the sewer volume rate by 3 cents. And both of these options would be revenue neutral, assuming usage remains consistent. The third option is to implement winter averaging with no changes to the sewer rates. Option 3 is staff's recommendation, and I'll explain why. So So in keeping with the guiding principles covered at the beginning, Council has made decisions that have had a positive impact on the financial stability of the Water Sewer Fund. As shown here, undesignated retained earnings is projected to be 199 days at the end of fiscal year 2023. And the retained earnings policy has a requirement of 180 days. Therefore, implementation of winter averaging could be covered by the amount of undesignated retained earnings over the required 180 days. Based on the highest impact, which was the 30% reduction in usage, the financial impact is a reduction of about $306,000, which is just under 6 days for the undesignated retained earnings, which if that happens, there would still be 13 days over the required 180 days. Another reason to implement winter averaging and not change rates this first year is to provide customers transparency, which impacts the customer's experience. Not changing the rates will allow customers to easily see that the sewer portion of their utility bill is directly impacted by their water usage, and decreasing their usage will impact their winter average. They can use the customer portal to monitor their usage each month, and if they're still using their irrigation system, reduce how often they run it to impact their winter average and have an impact on water sustainability. And remember, we're recommending throwing out the highest month, which allows customers an opportunity to make corrections and control their bill. The third reason we're recommending no change to rates is that this will allow staff to gather data to be used to compare usage by residential accounts versus usage by commercial accounts, and compare that information to the amount of revenue being generated by each customer classification to get a better picture of the impact each customer classification is having on both the water system and the sewer system. We'll be able to use the information to determine if the rates are equitable between the two classifications based on their impact to both systems. The last topic I'd like to cover is the ordinance. The current ordinance references the maximum of 13,000 gallons, which would be removed. And in addition, a winter average definition would be added to Chapter 3 of the Muni Code, along with how new customers will be treated. Since a new customer will not have data to calculate a winter average, we recommend assigning the citywide average. The citywide average for each year would be disclosed on the city's website, where water and sewer rates are shown. And finally, if council's direction is to proceed as recommended, the next steps would be to bring an ordinance that changes the sewer billing method from the current 13,000 gallon sewer cap method to winter averaging. And the ordinance would also include the method to be used to bill new customers who do not have a winter averaging established. Then on the 27th, that's when we would bring it, is on the 27th. If it's approved at that meeting, we would begin working with the community information officer to inform residents of the residential customers of the change. And we would use social media platforms, the city's website, messages on the water bill inserts, our e-news, and then press releases to get the message out. We would begin the data collection in the months of November through March, and then April bills would be the first bill utilizing winter averaging. And so with all that, it concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer your questions.
Kevin.
Thank you for that presentation, appreciate it. Do I understand correctly that on an annual basis, your winter averaging gets recalculated?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I just wanted to
Yes.
make sure I understood that piece of it, so, okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Oh, okay.
No, go ahead, if you have something.
We probably are going to ask something similar. Could you give us an example of, oh, by the way, thank you for bringing this forward, and thank you for the explanation, because this has been a long time coming. Could you give us some examples of how not your rate, but your fee could go up using winter averaging? As a resident, I'm struggling with that.
So how it would go up is right now your sewer is capped at 13,000 gallons.
Right?
Under winter averaging, there's no cap. So if you're using 20,000 gallons in November, December, January, and February and March, Your sewer is gonna be based on 20,000 gallons.
So that's basically for larger users?
If they're still watering outside.
Okay.
Because the average usage is less than 15,000 gallons as a city. We use about 12,000 gallons on average. 72% of the, if you recall back when we did the tiered rate structure, the consultant provided us that 72% of our customers, residential customers, use 15,000 gallons or less. And that's pretty consistent with what we're seeing here also.
Okay, thank you, that explains it. I just wanted to clarify, because when I first read this, I was a little bit confused, but when you said there was no change to the rate, that doesn't mean that what you're gonna pay is gonna go down, it's just that our rate that we're charging the customer isn't gonna change.
Correct. So currently, the base rate for sewer is $22.40, and the volume rate is $2.24. That would stay the same. So if you're using 8,200 gallons, your bill would be $38.53. If you're a resident that's not getting the senior discount, that's the sewer portion. It'd be $34.70 if you're a senior.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
John?
Can you go back a slide, I think, a slide or two? The new customer right there.
Oh, wait.
The new customer?
The new customers shall be assigned? Mhm.
Yeah, so that is based on, you said citywide average volume regardless of the size of the house the new customer might be getting into?
So the size of the house doesn't really matter.
Well, I mean, when I say
but
land, right?
Well, but you're not taking, winter averaging excludes outdoor watering. That's the purpose of picking up the November through March, is because most people aren't using their irrigation system or filling their pools during that time period. So it should strictly be, for the most part, what you're using inside your home.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got pretty active about following my portal this summer when the weather got bad.
Now you need to follow it in the winter, between November through March, if the recommendation is to move forward with this.
And actually, I went back and pulled out old data to look at and my, our household usage, it's like almost, I was talking, I think it was like, we were running 5,000 gallons a month through most of the winter months, and significantly more than that in the summer.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
thank you. Kevin?
Just one last, the circle graph that you had up there, was that residential?
It's only residential.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we have any information on what commercial impact might look like?
Well, so winter averages is not for commercial.
Oh, not for commercial,
No,
okay.
because most commercial accounts have a domestic meter and they have a separate irrigation meter, so they're not paying sewer on their irrigation anyway. And that's the purpose of winter averaging, is so that you're not paying sewers, the cost of sewer on things that's not going into the sewer system.
I just learned something about my 2 meters that I have in my commercial property, so there you go. That's why we have that.
Don was first. Okay, got you next. Don?
Thanks, Kim, for all this, and I love the fact that you're recommending that we don't change the rates for, well, I understand you said that for first year, but if you could help me follow the bouncing ball on this a little bit. So we're gonna have a deficit of $163,000 to $300,000 roughly that we're gonna use up out of retained earnings, right? That we have cushion to, or balance, fund balance to do that. But that would be only in the first year. This, if it's ongoing, if it's another 163 next year, or are we talking about adjusting rates next year to account for whatever it will balance out to?
So we look at rates every year.
Okay,
We look at what are the expenses of the fund? Are you looking at issuing bonds? That's part of the business plan, so every year we look at it, and we look at what revenue was generated in the prior year based on the rates, and will that revenue cover the proposed budgeted
Okay.
expenditures? And if it does, we don't bring a rate increase to you.
okay,
If it doesn't, then we would have the conversation of, we need to consider rates, or we don't do things.
okay. Well, that makes sense because so much of that system's gonna be fixed
Right.
cost, right? I mean,
Correct.
there's,
Right, and this is consistent with what we did when we did the water meters.
Yep.
We were scheduled to do a rate increase, and we did not do it because we wanted customers to see the impact on their bill was the change in their usage from the meters being more accurate than it was because of rate increase. We wanted to make it very simple, that people are seeing that it's their usage and that they have control of that. And then come back later and look at, do we need to adjust rates? Are people
Right.
changing their watering habits? What do we need to do? But give them that first year to really learn.
right, that makes sense. So the 19 days, what does that equate to? How much,
It's about $1,045,000.
oh,
It's
okay,
about
so it's
55.
more than planning to
55,000.
cover what we anticipate would be the deficit for this year.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that makes sense. And then one last thing, I think sort of, not putting words in John's mouth, but sort of following up what he was asking about, like if you get a new customer comes in and they move into a house and you use the city average for that first year until they get their history, right? But is it gonna make much of a difference? I mean, if it's a family of one, if it's a single person that moves into even a big house and are they gonna get hurt by using a city average for that first year? Or is it really negligible difference?
So I would say that would be, based on, we know that 72% of our customers use 15,000 gallons, right? They fall into that 15,000 gallons. I think the average is 12,000, and we're basing it on 8,000.
Mhm.
We don't know how many people are in each household, so I wouldn't be able to calculate how much water.
Right.
Yeah, and people have different watering
Sure.
habits, and so we just felt like using a citywide average for residents would be, and it's for 12 months. And if they move
Yeah.
if they move in October, then they're gonna have November, December, we're gonna be able to get that, and if we can get at least 3 months.
Yep.
So it's a really short period of time, I think, that you're looking at somebody moving in, that's gonna be.
And I guess the reality of that is, there really isn't a better alternative.
I don't know what else to do.
Yeah, until you get the history for that
Yeah.
household.
And it would change, the
Right.
winter average is gonna change every year, so if the community gets better,
Right.
and the winter, and the average comes down, then people moving in are gonna benefit from that also.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Don pretty much touched upon it, but so the base rate could change, it could go up, depending on what the winter rate yields, right?
Correct. So based on, if people change their watering habits, because during the winter, if that comes down 30%,
Right,
then we're probably gonna need to look at raising rates.
right.
And we would probably phase that in. That's historically what we do. I wouldn't wanna come to you and say, let's do a phase in. Okay.
Bijou?
Thank you, Mayor. A question for you, Kim. Thank you for the presentation. So we are striking down the highest and the lowest usage, and you get 3 months of average, right?
Yes.
And we are calculating based on 12,257 households.
The number of residential accounts that we actually have is, I believe, 11,458. That's the number of residential meters that we have.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Don?
One thing, and I don't, not to get bogged down on methodology, but we're talking about taking 5 months and then dropping out the high and the low. Why would we not just take, and I know you gave some reasons, but why would we just not take the 3, November, December, January, or something like that?
Well, it's kind of back to what I said. If somebody's sprinkler system is still going off in November or December, and they're using the customer portal, and they catch themselves, that gives them an opportunity to throw that month out, correct their behavior, and have an impact on water sustainability, and I don't want to
Yeah.
discourage that.
Okay,
So,
it gives them a bigger window to,
it's right, to make adjustments
yeah.
and.
okay, all right, thanks.
Mhm.
Anybody else? Well, thank you very much.
So is my direction to come back with
Yes,
I
the
would recommend.
recommendation?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
All right, thank you very much, I appreciate it.
I think that was an easy one. All right. Item C is a discussion regarding the grant agreement with the Coppell Historical Society. Mr. Land? Mr. Long?
I'm in charge of the chair. I can't even leave the room, but I have to change.
Hey, put you in the kitchen.
I want you to roll them out of here.
Nobody wants to listen to you.
no enemies in there this time.
You went out.
He didn't have you to.
You went out.
Where'd he go?
You went out.
He left. He can't leave.
He went down
We
the
need
hall
him.
to leave. The meeting's in recess, right, Mayor?
The meeting is in recess until we have a quorum present.
Oh, that's right. I guess he didn't realize it.
Yeah, he has, that's why he has to go hide in there.
We go to Bob's, I think is for us one time.
What's that?
We go to Bob's.
What's it?
For your political science thing.
That city charter says 5.
What time did Brianna say she'd be here?
That's why.
She just said she'll be here as soon as she can.
So we're gonna move on to item D, and hopefully the Councilmember Brianna will be here by the time we get back to C. This is a discussion regarding political signs. And I guess I'm kind of the one that mentioned this to the city manager some time ago, so I think Mr. Hager is gonna give us a brief history on the political signage in the city of Coppell.
Okay.
The reason you brought it up is specifically,
Kevin,
Size of the signs.
but located out here.
It's
Yes.
polling.
No, I know, but as far as, there are two reasons, just to be clarified, because one of the things we got into, just a little bit more background, is they were driving steel posts down into electrical lines in our irrigation system. So, I don't want it just so it's just about the big signs, it's also about the mechanics of the big sign. You follow me?
Did we do something wrong when we ran?
Installation.
The installation of the signs is problematic because it's damaging and potentially dangerous.
Especially if you ran into an underground power line.
Right, so I just wanted, while he talked about the size of the sign, for us, it was, we were having to watch out for safety purposes.
Was that corrected?
No. It
No,
has-
it's
that's
still-
what this
Well,
is-
yeah, that's why we
One
were,
over here.
right, we're getting ready to get into that season.
No, I was just wondering if the pipes were.
It got fixed,
I
yes.
mean, was it same depth or just did we put it?
We asked them to move. But we didn't have anything to back us up other than we have a safety problem.
When you said corrected, I thought you meant, did we change our ordinance to correct it?
Oh, no.
The answer to that was no, but,
No.
okay, got it. Bob, sorry.
Well, there's two elements to this, and without getting back into a discussion about signage in the right-of-way and all that, we prohibit any kind of signs in our right-of-way, generally around city property, and that would include political signs. However, the legislature, in trying to regulate polling places, since City Hall, Town Center is a polling place, they have restricted our ability to operate the polling place and to allow electioneering outside 100 feet, as long as those regulations are reasonable. And when Crystal Patinos was the election official for the city, in meeting with me, we kind of made a determination what we thought that as long as the polling place was attributable to the front parking lot, or back parking lot, whatever you think the front of the building is the area of the polling place itself that we would allow electioneering in the polling place while the polls are open. It's only a polling place when the polls are open. So that's during early election and on election day, and the hours vary from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. on Monday through Friday, and then make some alternative times on Sunday for early election, and then on election day, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Crystal did not want to be the sign police, so when we wrote the ordinance during early election and during the election period, we allowed the signs up 24/7. So those 2 weeks basically before and on election day. And we didn't want to get into the business of telling how, and going out there and having confrontation with representatives of candidates, both state, federal, and local, about signage and electioneering. We're just going to allow it to take place. And so that's the way we wrote the ordinance. Well, as to Mike's point and to the mayor's point, what it says in the state law, it says that I can regulate the polling place on election day for electioneering and loitering, which kind of is not a very good term because that's been held to be unconstitutional, that I can regulate that as long as it is reasonable and it's not prohibited. So then the discussion is, how big are the signs? I think we traditionally have people, allowed people to put up electioneering posts, if you will, or seating areas for people to sit, and if they're out there all day. So we need some discussion amongst you all of what Mike's issues are as far as, does it create a traffic hazard? This is a parking lot, and so signage hides cars or it distracts people from driving. So the entryway to the parking lot and the main driveway, if you will, has a clutter of signs, and if those signs obstruct sight vision triangles, then someone may get hit. And then Mike had indicated that there may be some physical constraints about putting up signs in certain areas because it may impact lighting, electrical lines, etc. So that's the background. If you want to regulate it more than you do now, we would have to have an ordinance change. Or if you wanted to, what I've done in some cities, not here, is we have a regulation much like you do, and we've actually drawn the polling place and put a map and attached it to the ordinance. So you put signs here, and you put them there, but you can't put them here. And the reason you can't put them here is because it become traffic issues and impair traffic and put pedestrian cars in conflict with one another. In that city where I have done that, they use the library for the polling place. They have a library rec center, and that's their polling place because it's a larger building in the city hall. So, Mayor, Mr. City Manager, if you want to weigh in on that, or if the council wants. I mean, I don't know what the I don't know what the physical complaints are about putting signs in certain areas, because you've got irrigation system out there, you have electrical lights out there, not only that, you have traffic. So, and if there are problems with people putting signs in certain areas, we can prohibit, I think it's reasonable to prohibit it in those areas, but I don't think we can totally preclude it during election when it becomes a polling place.
We're not asking to preclude, we're not asking for the signs not to be like they have been. I mean, it's just the big ones that we.
More than 36 feet, or the 36 feet
Square feet.
sign, square feet sign.
So we regulate by the total square footage of the sign. We allow up to 36 square feet, right?
Yes, on private property, that's for sure.
Can we, is it legal to go and allow or limit signs to a smaller size?
I'm going to say yes, but you couldn't say it couldn't be any bigger than a 4x6.
No.
I'm being ludicrous to make a point. So what is the right size, and where is it? So it cannot be arbitrary. You just can't pick a number out of the air. It has to be a number based on. Traditionally, signs are what, 2 by 3,
Yes.
and that's to your point.
4 by 4.
Okay. Councilmember Brianna, you had a question?
No, I guess I was just trying to understand what you're looking for from us.
I need to know, do you want to change the ordinance as it currently exists?
Okay.
Do you want to make them pick the signs up every day after the close
I got you.
of that kind of thing, or limit the size of the signs, because you've got two, I think, important areas, is the driveway onto Parkway, and then as you approach right in front of City Hall, where the driveway itself turns left and right, you've got a sight triangle there that sometimes gets distracted by a large sign, to the mayor's point.
Right. And then I guess the other question I had was, because you just mentioned, Ashley, the large signs, are those currently allowed under our ordinance? Okay.
Up to 36 square feet, which is basically a 4 by 8 sign,
4 by 9.
4 by 9.
But
Or by the, yeah.
I don't think we've ever had that big of a sign in the area. We have?
No,
Yes.
I'm just gonna defer, they're.
That's what I was wondering, yeah.
Yeah, Ashley and now it'll be Sarah, Ashley and Sarah are the ones that actually have to deal with this on a regular basis. There's code enforcement out there. We're talking specifically for us, we're just talking about City Hall. When the mayor brought this to say, hey, can we talk about it? Sure, you can talk about it, in terms of what's going on. We're the ones that he talked about the bigger signs. For us, it's just because they're bringing T-poles.
Yeah.
And they're driving them because of wind, so they don't get blown out because they're so big, they're driving them. And that is a very narrow section of the parking lot, as you know, with the trees and everything, and then the lights are there as well. And so then there is irrigation. I don't even know if we irrigate anymore over there, under those trees.
Well, and then when you have a national election, then the polling places will extend to some of the elementary schools. And I don't know if we've reached out to the school, but the ordinance would be applicable to polling place and polling place. So you can't have a sign or electioneering within 100 feet of the front door, which is the front door of this building. And then outside of that, only in the polling place, which is basically the parking lot from, say, the garden, the community garden, to just before you get to the fire department. Let's probably, I think I'm right, it's where the kiosk is for the water payments.
And they go out and mark. I mean, we try to help out as much as possible. They literally go out and mark and say, here's where the signs can be, here's where the signs can't be. This side of the line they can't be, this side of the line they can be. And we do the side triangle, if I remember right, don't we?
Yes,
Yeah, we do the side triangle at the driveway.
yes, I remember that.
Right.
Yeah.
John?
Is it that driveway, Mr. City Manager, along that comes up from Parkway to City Hall where there's electrical and infrastructure?
It's in those two medians, if you will, where the trees are. Right. I know this is a small issue, but it's something that she has to deal with.
Yes, we do have a lot of 36 square foot signs that come through, especially this coming year we will, or this November we will, because of the government.
John?
So I think the issue that I'm hearing that you have is probably those two narrow, what is it? I guess
Just
the
medians.
medians,
Mhm.
where you're talking about that location where the big signs, if they're having to put the post underneath or
For safety.
right, that's what you're talking about, right?
That's what,
That is a reference to something that did happen when they hit an electrical line and damaged.
Right, so other than those,
I'm not aware of.
the
any-
others as is, and you're
I
just
don't know
concerned
that
about.
he was talking about anywhere else. I think it was, I don't know, when you brought it up.
Well, the other thing is along so not the medians, but out toward Parkway, we had so many of the large signs that you couldn't see when you were turning into the parking lot.
Oh, well, so we did get some complaints from other candidates. Am I making this up?
Tell me more.
About the big signs. About the big signs. About the big signs blocking the little signs.
Yes, that.
So that's the rest of, I'm just having to remember, so.
What was it? What?
The big signs are blocking all the small signs, so somebody goes out there and puts their small signs, and one person puts out a big sign, the rest of them are blocked. So it
I saw
defeats
that.
the purpose of having all the small signs out there.
So where this is going is it's kind of like self-procreating. It makes everybody put out big signs.
Yeah.
So basically, you're wanting no big signs in front
Oh,
of.
no, we're just asking if it's, what do y'all want to do?
No, that's
Because,
what I'm saying, we're
right,
asking.
because Ashley and Sarah are the ones that have to deal with it. You don't. We're the ones that get the phone calls, we're the ones that have to monitor the medians, you know, those kinds of things. And what she would do, let's say that you made the adjustment in the ordinance, she would provide all that information up front about what's permissible and what's not as it relates to this polling place, this polling place.
Let me say this, I think it would be reasonable not to allow signs in the median that we have infrastructure that is potentially damaged or has been damaged. I think that that would be constitutionally protected, reasonable behavior.
Small signs are fine, because all they're
Right.
doing is, you know, put their foot
Sure.
down.
The fact that somebody's sign blocking somebody else's sign,
That's gonna happen all the time.
that's First Amendment stuff too. and that's
It's
whatever
gonna
gets-
happen all the time. You put a sign.
Oh, they do call
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you know.
Well, those are issues about fairness and the candidates and all that. And, you know, who's got the most money gets, and I'm not talking about council elections. The real abusers of this are probably state and local. If people don't live here, they just got sign monkeys that come out and put signs up. Because they're the ones that put them in the wrong places up everywhere in the city. So,
BJ?
sign monkeys my turn, not the ordinance.
Yeah, so question is, so 9 days of early voting and 1 day election for during the municipal election. In the November
It's not
election.
just municipal election, any
Yeah.
election we have.
So every year, the years we have municipal election and the November election, those are the
No,
times.
the primaries in the spring.
Primaries.
Yeah.
Primary-
If you remember, the primaries then turned into the summer because they had runoffs.
And then runoff.
Yep.
So it just became the year of the election.
Right.
There's an election mode going on all the time.
That's because of the COVID situation.
Oh, no, that's the way the law works for primaries.
Yeah, I mean, we
That's
had primaries
every
in
other
all
year.
of a lot of the county, state, and there was runoffs in those, and there was some runoffs in the local
Oh, you were
elections, and
You were involved.
Yeah. So, by all means, for safety, I'm okay with restricting those big signs in those medians because we do have electrical underneath, and that's, yeah, I mean, obviously for safety reason, I'm okay with that. Having ran, it is a hassle to, or it's a lot of work to have to come back out, take it out for the weekend and then put it back on again. So
We're not
right,
asking
we're not
for
ask-
that.
Right, so that, to keep that would be great. Out in the front as well, and I could see why people could call and say they have a view on the, I mean, obstruction of the view when they're coming out. If that's a safety issue, I think that we do need to take that into consideration. I mean, we're not restricting people to put signs.
No, they can still
but
put their
we're just
sign up.
asking them to restrict on the size to have a better view coming out, so,
Safety.
yeah, so I, for safety reason, I don't have an issue as to that.
Kevin?
So I distinctly remember when we were, last year when we were putting out signs, that triangle was marked out at the entryway of town center. I don't want to get rid of big signs, but if we need to make that triangle bigger or change that, is that triangle outlined in the ordinance, the current ordinance, or was that just a?
Safety.
They just went out.
That is just us doing
That's the
that.
engineering department says, here's what the
I
side
mean-
triangles are.
And to me, it's like, if we need to make that triangle bigger and, you know, and still have it, so we can just increase those sight lines, that seems reasonable without having to, if that's just kind of like
what
a,
I might do with our ordinance is indicate that the city engineer, along with the election official, can determine site triangles, because it's in the parking lot, and establish reasonable site triangles. So that those are no signs in those areas.
yeah, I mean, in the name of safety, that just seems to make sense if we need to push those back a little bit more.
Yeah.
I'm definitely supportive of not destroying any infrastructure that is in any medians, so whatever we need to do to protect that.
But no, so I understand, and you can have a bigger sign, it just can't be in those areas, Mike, is that what I'm hearing?
You still okay with the 36 square foot sign?
I mean, At the front,
Yeah.
bring it.
Honestly, I haven't seen 36 size.
It's be a 4x8 is what we're talking about.
But I'm saying, I haven't seen 4x8. And I've seen maybe 3x6 but 4x8. 4x6 maybe, but not 4x8.
So
But either way.
right now, our current ordinance says we have the 36 square feet, right? So is that like a standard type thing, or is that just specific to Coppell that?
It's state law.
Yeah.
State law says it
State
can
law
be up to
says
that.
that anything, I can't prohibit anything under, in essence, it's written poorly, but under 36, I can't regulate that. So on your private property, you can't have a sign larger than that, so that's why we use that number,
I see.
because if I was going out and paying to have signs made, and I'd make them as large as I could make them if I was running for office, so I could use them wherever I needed to use them, so I would standardize that, so that's why we wrote it that way, is so that it would be easy for us to enforce.
So I guess it kind of goes back to my, is the sight lines the issue, or is it the size, or is it the location, or
No.
all of the above?
No, specifically, I'm gonna be very specific.
Bring
It's
it.
the medians in the parking lot, the long medians and then kind of the end bulbs, if you will, that the large signs are problematic.
Because they have bigger
Because they have the
space.
T-posts that
Yeah,
they're
sure.
driving down.
And that's what,
So
there was
for
an
us,
infrastructure.
if you're going, if you say, hey, people can still use the sign, okay, we'll just, we have to work with them. But for us, we would like to not have to deal with T-posts in those small areas, which means it's this, I don't know, I'm gonna call it the bandit sign, I don't know what else to call it. It's the typical smaller sign.
Yard sign.
Like your
Yard
two-
sign,
was it
yeah.
Yeah,
By
those
24.
do
18,
not
24
cause us
whatever.
any issues. It's once they start getting bigger and they have to start driving posts in.
And that seems reasonable to me. I mean, at least what I saw in our election, that's all I saw was there, but I know that there are other elections other than
Right.
what we did. So
Right.
if that has been an issue in
I'm
in,
guilty.
yeah, in the sake of preserving that infrastructure that's underneath those medians, that makes sense. I mean, we don't want to slice that up every time.
So if there's support for that, we'll work on.
Hang on.
Yeah,
Don?
because there was the other thing too that I've gotten questions on were signs were affixed to vehicles. Sign's a sign, doesn't matter. In other words, someone pulls in a van and they slap a big sign on the side of the van and leave it there all day. To me, it's a sign, doesn't matter.
But it's not on.
Well, it could be.
Median.
No, I understand. I've had that question asked to me, and I said, it's a sign, so if you want something different. I mean, how can I say this? Our employees park there, so. This goes beyond municipal election. I know that's where you guys are focused, because that's, I'm kind of like asking the fox to guard the hen house, right? Because y'all are like, but you get to make the decision, it's your ordinance, and so. I don't have a problem with it. If you need that cleaned up, that if it's affixed to a vehicle, I'm fine with that, or y'all fine with that?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
Okay.
I mean,
Don, you had a question?
I'd rather them fix it to their vehicle and scratch their vehicle than hurt my electrical.
yeah.
I thought I heard a contradiction, though. I thought we couldn't regulate under 36 square feet, is
No,
what you said.
that's the way the law is written, that's what, if you read it, I don't know what it means. You can't have a sign over 36 square feet.
Anywhere
That
up
means-
to
That's the
36.
maximum size.
They use
Can't have
their,
anything
they
bigger
use
than
his no,
36.
don't say no
Oh.
language.
Okay, so we could technically make it smaller,
We,
but you do it for enforcement reasons.
we,
Okay.
we can do smaller, but it has to be uniform and equal with everybody. We can't be selective on one type of sign is one size. It has to be uniform.
Okay.
You can set, to
I mean,
Bob's point, you couldn't make a 4x6 inch sign requirement, but, you can say 6 square foot or 10 square foot or whatever you want.
Mhm.
I mean, there is visual clutter for those 6 weeks.
Okay, so I didn't follow exactly what consensus we came to here.
I'm not either.
Yeah, me either.
I was gonna try to figure that out. Where do we
Consensus
stand?
is just no large signs in the median.
No large meaning, Do you have to define large?
One that
We'll have to,
requires,
well,
T-post?
we'll come back to you with suggestions.
Okay,
right?
just
Yeah,
One that requires T-posts to be driven.
right.
to give you,
Well,
to give
be
you
careful
a data
because
point.
Be careful
You
with
could-
that.
You could have a big one without
No,
T-posts.
you could string it between trees.
But that'd be okay, wouldn't it?
With their own
To affix to our trees?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
No, it shouldn't be fixed to it. That violation, your ordinance will fix it to the tree.
But if there's
Any
consensus,
signage.
to the mayor's point, if there's consensus on, okay, we'd like to not have such large signs in the median to protect the infrastructure, let us then walk away from that and then come back to you and say, okay, here's,
Here's how we accomplish
Th-
that.
this is how we can accomplish it. We think a sign up to this large. And then that just gives her the ability to talk to them when they're putting them out. We just need to give her the flexibility and something behind her to say, hey, we can't do this, but you can't do this at this location. That's the only
We'll
way.
take care of you all or your opponents. The real problem is, we'll go out and pick up, because you're educated. When you run for office, you get a packet, and generally, she should put something together and say, here's where you put your signs, and here's what signs you can put up, and where you can put them up. That's that part. The real offender is someone that's running for state office, that just comes out here at 6 o'clock in the morning and starts sticking
Drops
signs
it.
up.
Yeah.
Well, if it's too big, we'll go out and start
Well-
picking them up.
Can we put a sign before they put up their
A
thing?
sign for a sign.
Signs that says no larger than, whatever, or
This
no
area
stake
reserved
post,
for nothing larger than.
or this, no post, stake post in this area.
So, can
Sure, as
we,
long as the sign's
so-
not too big.
so to help
You
Bob
make a big
out,
sign.
are we saying no signs larger than a yard sign, which is 6 square feet in the medians, the two medians?
In the medians, I thought we were just talking about 18 by 24s, right? Or
Well,
those
some
are
of,
the ones,
is it, what are the yard signs? Are they 18 by 24? or
the yard signs are
24?
18 by 24.
Okay, so 18 by 24?
What's your mark stance?
I guess they could use that small stakes and put a bigger size if they
Yep.
wanted to.
I don't know what's the tipping point where you need to have a,
No T-post. Are we talking about just town center? Are we talking
Yes.
about
That's all
all
we're
the
talking- that's all we're
only
talking
town
about.
center? So the rest of the city would still
Yeah.
fall into the.
Well,
Free
The
for all.
school, everything, yeah.
yeah, unless the school's a polling place. The school's a polling place.
That's what I was thinking, the I mean, there was,
Yeah.
any place is a polling
Yeah.
place, which is our schools.
But
Well,
it's
that's-
technically, it's their property, they can tell.
Yeah, it's a
They
school
do what they
district.
want.
Kind of.
I was hoping to be able to limit to the, whatever size a yard sign is.
But, I mean, I understand what Kevin was saying, we just, as far as the one that's close to the street, we can mark the lines a little further back and,
Have a free-for-all?
There's no signs in the triangle. No signs in the site triangle. Limited signage up and down the median to keep from
Wait, which
too
one
close
is
to damage.
So like if this is the street, they cut that corner
oh,
right
yeah,
there
well,
for the
yeah, 'cause
sightlines.
but they usually have that, I guess,
Well, that's what we're saying, is like if we need to make
Right.
that bigger to increase the sightlines.
Even if, back in the old days, let's take political signs, we always had site triangles where you could place bandit signs when we had sign districts. Because even, different cars have different lengths and people are different sizes and I'm a shorter guy and I'll tell you what, even the small signs sometimes is hard for me to see down the road sometimes because it's a distraction in your line of sight. So the engineers like to keep that clear at sight triangle. So we'll clear the sight triangle based on engineering and city secretary's reasonable interpretation of that. And then you can have whatever sign you want in the parking lot, except in the median, which should not be any larger than X. And I'm gonna stick a number in there, and if you don't like it, change it.
Sounds good.
sounds good.
Good, thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, we are going to go back to item C, a discussion regarding grant agreement with Coppell Historical Society.
Leave for good.
That will be.
You go away.
Good all. No.
Mr. Land?
Sure. So we've had continued meetings with the Historical Society. I met with the president a couple of weeks ago. Prior to meeting with her, I went back and looked at the July meeting just to make sure I understood what the instructions were for council, because they were working with Jessica and her team on what the grant agreement looked like. And so had a very productive meeting, and working on some plans that she's gonna be coming forward to y'all hopefully within the next 60 days. During the course of that conversation and with what council had said, I just wanted to come back to council because I think there's two tracks here. For many years, the Historical Society has received a grant for $10,000. And that $10,000 is used for Pioneer Days, Vintage Christmas, doing some of their programs and everything along those lines. And that $10,000 is more operational. When the grant request was made, it was made with the intent of, we'd like to make this application for the museum, then be able to open the museum and then have the operations. So in meeting with her, I wanted to come back to council because I'd like to present it this way. If I get y'all's agreement on this, this is what we'll develop, right? And the first is do the standard $10,000, which they've had before, so that they can do their operations and just do business. For example, they have Pioneer Days starting in October, this October. And then they're already making preparations for the Christmas. So we get that done, that's easily signed, and we take care of that business. Then the grant application itself, it does take some funds to get the grant application together. So that $10,000 that you identified back in July is correct to go ahead and help get that started. And then the other trigger points that you had, the $48,000, and then the $48,000 would come along after the designation and then to help with the operations. So I'm trying to simplify it so that they get their $10,000 so they can operate. They get the $10,000 to move forward with the application, and then the triggers still come in place, but it's two different agreements as opposed to one. Okay, so that's my request, just to see if you're okay with that, and if so, that's what we'll prepare, and we'll start with October 1.
Don?
So what have we already approved? 20?
What you,
No.
no,
10.
what you,
10?
what, you had 107, and you broke it down as 10, but the words you used this was for the application for the museum.
Okay.
So the agreement was being written, that $10,000 was for the application of the museum, then the 48 would come after the designation, and then the next 48 for operations, right?
Okay.
So I'm just distinguishing, they have an operational need, which is the 10,000 that historically has been given.
So you need another 10,000.
So the 10,000 per their traditional grant agreement, which gets you Pioneer Days, Vintage Christmas,
Right.
the operations and everything along those lines. Park that, and then do the agreement that y'all talked about. Just understand that that's 10,000 to get started for the application. So we're still doing that,
So 20,000 needed.
basically, to start off with, right?
Kevin?
I was under the impression that the 10,000 that we carved out was for the operations, and that I did not realize that there was a cost associated with the grant, or with the application process and things like that. So if we need to carve out money so they can start down that road, that makes sense to me. But just so I understand, that's still that total of 107.
Everything associated with the museum is still that 107.
All right. So is there an additional ask of 10,000?
No, well, I'm the one that's coming to you and saying, the 10,000, y'all balled it all up together when she made the presentation, right, in terms of what's going on. The missing piece was, starting October 1, I've got an annual budget, and I've got Pioneer Days, and I've got Vintage Christmas, and so I've got all these other activities going on that we've traditionally given $10,000 for. So I'm just trying to pull that back.
So just so I understand, it's the 107 is just for the museum, and then there's there's the 10,000 that, the standard operation that
Yes.
we've done for years.
Yes.
So it's, okay, that, I was under the assumption that was all, like, including the $10,000 in operation was in that ask, in their original
And-
presentation.
And the way y'all discussed it, you know, when I went back out,
Mhm.
I didn't hear that
Okay.
from y'all. I heard this is only for the application.
Mhm.
Because y'all, the way that y'all had said that, that's the reason I'm separating it out. Wait, she has to have, the Historical Society has to have money to be able to put on Pioneer Days and Vintage Christmas.
Yeah.
And the language you used in the development of the grant that Bob drafted for the first time did not have that latitude.
Okay.
John?
But didn't we say that didn't we ask for more information as to,
Business plan.
right?
Yeah, you did, and so the second piece of this is she is working on the business plan portion related to the museum and the operations.
Because we wanted to see
Correct.
what
Right.
actually is available before we actually commit ourselves to that,
Correct,
right? So
correct.
that will be done before we actually give
On the.
additional
on-
10,000, is that?
Well, that'll be something that the hope is that within the next 60 days, she'll be back before you to lay out the whole plan and everything along those lines. So she won't make the application until she's got the plan laid out the way that y'all asked for it. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, so we'll see it before
Yeah,
that money's
yeah,
given.
she's
Okay.
going to come with a presentation.
Sure.
We're helping.
Okay.
Don, did you have anything else?
Yes, so what are we gonna see on this grant? A $20,000,
No,
what are we gonna see?
you're just gonna see, I mean, it's the typical, the $10,000 is the
Yes.
standard agreement that the agency has received for the last umpteen years.
Sure, I think everybody's very
Right.
good with that.
Yes.
Okay, so park that.
Right.
So now, the grant is, you laid out, the $10,000 would be for the grant application. The next 48,000 would be after it was received, and that would be used to do the renovation or whatever it is. And then the last 48,000 would be part of the operations of the museum and everything. You, when she comes, I'm saying 60 days if we can get everything done. When she comes before, let's say, the end of October, she'll have that business plan laid out and lay it out in front of you and say, here's what y'all asked for. Here's the business plan, here's how this is gonna work, here's the dream sequence, I call it, in terms of what's gonna happen, related to not only the museum, but we're talking about the whole, what's the big picture for
Right.
the Historical Society?
So
That's what I present.
all that's gonna be in the grant
Well,
agreement, I guess,
before,
agreement.
before you, yes, but before you even say, okay, now, you've got to hear the plan. That's what y'all asked for.
Okay, so that'll come after this presentation. There'll be more discussion, I guess that's where.
Yes, you have not,
Okay,
that's part of the reason why I wanted to get to you now about the
Yeah.
10,000, because I don't think that can wait, because I
Sure.
know they have Pioneer Days coming up and Vintage Christmas, and so they need to,
So,
yep,
y'all specifically asked for a plan.
That is
Right.
correct.
right.
yeah,
Right.
but
Right.
that's where I'm going blue screen a little bit is on the 107 because,
Nothing's happened on 107,
Yeah.
that's part of the reason why it triggered for me. I need
Yeah.
to separate that out,
Sure.
because
they need to do their
She-
normal stuff,
they
yeah,
gotta do their normal stuff, and she's not ready, she doesn't have
sure,
the full plan that y'all have asked for.
okay, okay,
And even after she presents it, you may still have more questions, I don't know,
Right.
right?
Okay.
But she laid out a timeline based on what she thought y'all were gonna, here's what I wanna do, then you asked for a plan.
okay,
Well, that's kinda thrown, all right, well, that's gonna take a little bit more time.
yeah, okay.
Brianna?
That was clear for me.
Okay,
Yeah. They need 10 now.
right, they're just like they
And
have
I'm
in the
good with
past.
giving them 10 now so they
Right.
can operate.
Right,
Yes.
And then the business plans for the rest. So
correct.
if you're looking for a yay or nay, I'm saying I'm good with 10 now.
Well, to Kevin's point, when they asked for 100, was it 107?
107.
So they actually should have asked for 117.
It should
Yeah.
have, but,
Okay.
right, and that was the first time, quite, to my, I don't remember,
Well, she-
did she do the request last year? last year for the 10. I don't think it was her, I think it was Pete, wasn't it?
Yes.
It might
So
be-
this
yeah,
is her
somebody-
first time,
right.
this is her first time to do the ask, and so that's just kind of a learning opportunity. Hey, I've got my normal operating over here, I need this for. But she was so focused on the museum and everything, well, that's what that proposal was all about.
Right.
10 now.
Hmm?
10 now. 10,000 now.
10, oh, 10.
I think
Like
it's
to
10
get-
now and we reserve
I
our
would-
So is
comments
it-
until we
is-
see the business.
Bijou?
Yeah, so just to clarify, the additional 10,000 is still gonna come out of the hot.
Hot fun.
Hot fund, yeah, thank you.
And that's after we get that
Proposal.
proposal plan.
Is-
Yeah, well, the 10 that I'm asking for right now is straight from the hot fund,
Yes.
and then the balance would still come out of that hot fund. If y'all give the green light. If you say, great idea, but we're not ready to do this yet, that's up to.
We got 10 now from Kevin.
Some of it.
I got 10 now from Brianna. Got 10 now from John. Got 10 now from
10
Don.
for operations, yes.
Yeah,
Got 10
Yeah.
from
We're good.
Bijou.
All right.
5
We're
now
good.
here.
I am clear, I got it.
Thanks.
Well, believe it or not, the time is 7:10. We're at the end of work session. We'll move into the regular session of the city council at 7:30. Good evening, everybody. We have adjourned from work session and we'll be starting our regular session of the City Council at 7:30. Thank you. You're quite welcome. We're missing, we don't have a quorum. Good afternoon, everybody. The time is 7:30 PM, and we're here for the session of the Coppell City Council. Reminder, any persons wishing to speak during our citizens' appearance or the public hearings must sign the appropriate register located outside the council chambers and list your residence address. Tonight, to begin our meeting, we have Pastor Rolando Carzales of Life Church here to offer our invocation, and then we will recite the Pledge of Allegiance, so please stand. Pastor?
Thank you, Mayor. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we first want to thank you for your goodness and your faithfulness, and for the opportunity to pray to you this evening, Father. At this meeting, we pray for your blessing over the city of Coppell. We pray specifically for Mayor West, every council member. We ask you to give them wisdom and direction as they make decisions in this meeting. We pray you help everyone involved tonight to be unified in making decisions in the best possible way and to effectively carry them out, Father. We pray you enable them to think and strategize in ways that will achieve great results and for the good of the city. We pray you give them clarity so they can effectively tackle each part of today's agenda and enable them to move forward as a team in a meaningful way. We pray you for your protection over our police department, fire department, our schools, teachers, and students, especially the citizens of this city. We pray not only for your protection, but also for your direction and guidance for all those you have placed in positions of leadership and responsibility. And also, Father, we pray that you guide everyone involved that's going to participate. Thank you, and we pray this in the name of your Son and our Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Item number 6 is a proclamation, and if Callie would come forward and bring any friends that you might. We need to invite this group down more often. We don't normally get this many people out, so thank you very much. Council, for your consideration. Whereas September has been designated as the National Senior Center Month by the National Institute of Senior Citizens, and whereas the National Senior Center Month celebrates how senior centers strengthen community and their connections by providing adults 50 and over access to programs, services, opportunities, and resources that we need to age well. And whereas the Coppell Senior and Community Center is a trusted place in the Coppell community that contributes to the physical and social well-being of adults 50 and over through delivering essential services, providing a space for social engagement and meaningful activities, and creative, active recreational opportunities. And whereas the Coppell Senior and Community Center staff has registered more than 1,200 members since reopening and created opportunities to help build engagement and promote connections among adults 50 years of age and over in our community. Now, therefore, I, Wes Mays, Mayor of the City of Coppell, do proclaim the month of September as Senior Center Month in the City of Coppell, and I encourage all citizens to celebrate by recognizing the Coppell Senior and Community Center, its volunteers, community partners, members, and staff who value the importance of community connections and the quality of life for all adults age 50 and over in our community. In witness thereof, I have set my hand and caused the seal of Coppell to be affixed this 13th day of September 2022. Council? Looking for a motion? Councilmember Carroll.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve the proclamation naming the month of September as Senior Center Month.
Got a second by Councilmember John. All in favor?
Long, Hinoso Smith, Carol, Neville's, Jen, Matthew, in favor, none opposed, the motion carries.
Thank you very much. Wanted to thank you guys for coming out, and did we have anything that we needed to say?
So the theme this year for National Senior Center Month is strengthening community connections, and that's what we have been celebrating so far. We have a couple more celebrations that are going to happen. Next Wednesday on the 21st, we have a Bridging the Gap program fair, which will help us bridge the gap to participation in our programs. Many of these fine females and males with me up here today will be handing out information on the programs that they volunteer for, so that way other people can get connected into the facility. And then on Wednesday, September 28th, we will be celebrating the cultures that are found amongst our members at the facility with a melting pot luck lunch, where everyone will get to bring in a dish that they enjoy from their culture. So we are excited to celebrate. The last 2 years have been extremely hard on this population, and our team does not take for granted the opportunity we have to connect members to our facility and to welcome them back home. So we are so grateful for the support of our mayor and city council and all that you do to help us strengthen the connections within our community. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Council, any comments? I'm guessing, Councilmember John.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say that it's good to see all of you here, not just at Senior Center, and just know that all of us appreciate that everything that you do at the Senior Center, participating and making our Senior Center better and also the community better. So thank you for being active, and we hope that you actually do come to all of our meetings and make this place more live, right? So thank you again.
Councilmember Nevels.
Hey guys, how are y'all? No, I wanted to echo what Councilmember June said. It's been a pleasure to be able to come out and be a part of y'all's programs on the fourth Wednesday lunch. Had a great opportunity to get to meet and know several of you. You guys are not afraid to ask the hard questions, I have learned. So but you know what? That just strengthens our resolve to make sure that we get you guys the most accurate and correct information. And we appreciate the level of concern, the level of participation. We appreciate that this is, our senior center is an amazing gathering place for you guys. So thank you so much for allowing us to come in and share that time with you. We really appreciate it. So, and I look forward to many more meetings.
Councilmember Hinojosa.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say thank you guys for coming out. And I remember when we created the senior center and excited to see like it came to fruition and how much you guys use it and what you guys have really made of it and all the activities and everything that you do. And truly, we appreciate every single one of you. So thank you for what you do, and thank you for just being a part of our community, and especially an active part of our community. So thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah, I also had the opportunity to visit Senior Center many times, along with the council member Kevin Nevels and John June. Like Kevin mentioned, you're not afraid to ask any tough questions. So we like that. We bring that questions back to the council and we discuss them with the staff. So thank you for the opportunity to visit you and keep asking the tough question. Thank you.
Councilmember Carroll.
I'll tell you a very brief story. So I am in Kroger, Miss Nevels. I'm in Kroger the other day, and I happened to run into this gentleman, and we get to talking, in one of the aisles. And he had just moved here. His wife had some health concerns, and so I could tell he was looking for a community to belong and everything. I said, I have got just the place for you. And if I could have found Sherry that day, I would have gotten him connected. But I think it is great that there is such a vibrant senior community in this city, and all of you play your part in that I am able to talk to somebody at Kroger and say, I've got just the place that you need to go check out and everything. So thank you for being here, and thank you for being a great part of this community.
You certainly can.
6 years ago, the city sponsored a group that started out with 6 people, and how many members do we have now? We have over 50 women that come every Tuesday religiously to make blankets, quilts, hats, burp cloths for numerous hospitals. And during COVID, we made masks for anybody who would call, and someone drove around with the material in their car, and we had an assembly line all over. And anybody who couldn't find a mask could call and get a mask. And I'd like to thank the city for providing us and getting us started with fleece. They gave us the first year, and all our blankets go to the community hospitals, the one in Children's Hospital in Fort Worth. We gave them out to anybody who'd call. We had doctors' offices, they couldn't get masks. So we keep very busy, and if any of you want to learn how to crochet, knit, or sew, come on up. Tuesdays between 1 and 3. Thank you, city.
Thank you very much. So I'm going to give this out, and hope you guys can have a chance to take a look at it, and thank you very much.
Meeting's not over, it's not over yet.
Sometimes we try to shame those that are leaving into staying, but I think we'd lose that argument tonight. So. Okay, item number 7 is a citizen's appearance. Persons wishing to speak must sign the register outside and list their residence address. Presentations by individuals shall be limited to 2 minutes each. An individual speaker time may be extended for an additional 2 minutes with the approval of the majority of the council members present. Persons signed up to speak will be called in the order that they signed up. No personal attacks by any speaker shall be made against any member of the council, the mayor, individual, group, or corporation. There will be no comments or deliberation from the City Council due to the requirements of the Texas Open Meetings Act. Once the timer sounds at 2 minutes, the City Secretary will interrupt and make the request to the Mayor and Council that if we would like to extend the speaker's time for an additional 2 minutes. Tonight, signed up, we have, here it is. We have Mr. James Ford. Mr. Ford, I believe you have a presentation as well. So please come forward, state your name and your address for us, please, sir.
Is it this mic? I'm James Ford. I currently reside with my partner at 342 Woodhurst Drive in Coppell. Coppell High School graduate, and been living here since the mid-'80s. I would like to formally request Mayor Mays and honorable council members an additional 2 minutes.
Okay, go ahead. So we'll give you 4 minutes.
Thank you. My purpose for today is to formally request an update to the trash and recycle code. I've been experiencing, I'm trying to figure out the clicker. To give you an idea, this is the alleyway behind our property. This is in 2011 Google map, back when things were utopia. To the right, that is my driveway. To the back left is the neighbor that has been causing problems for us. This all started when the neighbor just started dumping whatever, whenever in the back alleyway. In this instance, it was in the middle of the alleyway over to where we discard our items. We contacted code compliance. They came over and did their best to help and found a laundry list of things that they had not sought permits for, work that they had done, and they did their best to try to get them to put their trash back where it's been for the past 40 years for pickup, so it wouldn't be an issue. Of course, they strayed from that, and it's been moving. So this gives you an idea of the evolution of the trash. It's gone all the way from the back now, moving all the way forward. One of my neighbors brings back commercial waste from her place of employment to add to the bundle. We grow food and we have vegetation. They're pushing it up against our bamboo, so that way it affects us. Somehow, through code compliance, they were able to get approval to put a fence across the alleyway. There's also this concrete platform that they received approval for. Actually, most of that platform is on their neighbor's property, but based on the survey that they submitted, they got this approval. Now they've created a bigger problem because they put their trash cans out permanently, wedged up on the grass over near our side. They have plenty of room on their side to put their trash away. And it's becoming a bigger problem. This latest incident, they put out bloody biohazard items that look like bloody blistered soles just to taunt and create problems to incite a reaction for leverage. And for the record, there are other issues with this neighbor that are being taken care of through the appropriate channels. My request is to have the rules updated. This is adopted from other places in my research. This is what helps people in my situation to be protected from this type of harassment. For the trash to be placed adjacent to the dwelling unit of origin is the key language there. There are many issues here. Some of them is the constant harassment. Just when you think it's over, it starts up again. The grass that we're expected to maintain on both city and our own properties getting damaged, which they know about. The foul odors because they leave their trash can open, which is also against the rules for lengthy periods of time. When we're working in the garden. It's a biohazard. A lot of their stuff ends up in the food that we eat because it blows over again. There's limited space now that the fence is there, and so now they're trying to take over even more of our area where we're supposed to put our trash, which causes confusion with Republic because they don't know where our trash ends and theirs begins, et cetera, et cetera. So they don't know how to properly apply fines or notices. This has exhausted the police. I've seen more police and interactions with the police in the past 8 months than I have in my 48 years of existence. It's been very stressful. And a bunch of city money resources have been wasted because of countless city employee hours and resources trying to fix the situation. This is my attempt to try to resolve, as I'm approaching you, this is my attempt to resolve this still with the city. If the council's unable to resolve it, I'm gonna have to resort to going to parties outside of the city to try to resolve this. It's been emotionally distressful. I have calls with detectives. I have calls with people I shouldn't on a regular basis. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time tonight. We have nobody else signed up for the citizens' appearance, so we'll move on to item number 8, which is our consent agenda. The consent agenda is routine in nature and is typically enacted in one motion. These items have been previously approved through the city budget or past council actions. Any item may be pulled and considered separately. Full descriptions are available on the screen and have been scrolling through. Is there any item on the agenda tonight the council would like to have pulled? We've got a number of these, so we'll give everybody a moment to read through them. I'll entertain a motion. Councilmember Carroll.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve item number 8, items A through K.
Thank you. And a second by Councilmember Neville. All in favor?
Long, Hinojosa Smith, Carol, Neville's, John, Matthew, in favor, none opposed, motion carries.
Thank you very much. Moving on to number 9, this is a continued public hearing. This is to receive comment on the proposed 22-23 municipal budget. Ms. Tien, please.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. As the mayor just indicated, this is a continuation of the public hearing that was held at the council meeting on August 23rd. At that meeting, I provided an extensive presentation on both the budget and the tax rate, and this evening's public hearing is another opportunity for citizens to provide input concerning both. And I'm here to answer any questions.
So thank you very much. This process began essentially about a year ago. And I would like to thank you for all the time and effort that you've put in to create this budget for the city. It is a historic an event, when you take into account we're coming out of COVID, we have reduced our spending to account for the evils of State Rule 3.334, and you've just done a fantastic job. And this council's long-range planning has enabled that, and it's been a tremendous activity to see everybody work together as a team. So thank you for your part in that.
Thank you. And we, just speaking for staff, we appreciate council's support and all the support from all the other directors in the city. It's really been a team effort to bring this forward.
Okay. Council, do you have any questions for Ms. Tien? It is. All right, this is a public hearing, and we did not have anybody sign up to speak. If there's anybody that has anything to say, we'll be welcome to entertain comments. Seeing none, any other comments by council? Well, I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing and approve the item. I'm sorry, Councilmember Neville's.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to close the public hearing, and we just have to close the hearing. Yeah, I move to close the public hearing.
I'm sorry. Thank you very much. Second by Councilmember Hinojosa Smith. All in favor?
Long, Hinojosa Smith, Carol, Neville's, John, Matthew, in favor, none opposed, motion carries.
Thank you very much. Okay, item number 10 is also a continued public hearing. This is to receive public comment concerning the proposed tax rate for 22-23 of 0.518731. Ms. Tien.
So again, the presentation on the tax rate was at the last council meeting on August 23rd. It's another opportunity for citizens to provide comment concerning the tax rate, and I'm here to answer any questions.
Councilmember Hinojosa Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. I do not have any questions, but I move to close the public hearing for,
We need to ask,
I don't have any questions.
thank you.
Thank you for all you're doing.
We had no one signed up to speak from the public, so with that, I'll turn it over to Councilmember Hinojosa Smith.
Thank you, I just jumped the gun. I move to close the public hearing for item 10.
And seconded by Councilmember Nevels. All in favor?
Long, Hinojosa Smith, Carol, Nevels, Jen, Matthew in favor, none opposed, the motion carries.
Thank you very much. Moving on to number 11. This is to consider an ordinance approving and adopting the budget for the city of Coppell, Texas for the fiscal year of October 1st, 2022 through September 30th, 2023, and authorizing the mayor to sign. Ms. Tien again.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council. So this item, the item before you is consideration of approval of an ordinance approving and adopting the fiscal year 2022-23 annual budget for the city of Coppell. The public hearing, again, for this item was held on August 23rd and continued to this evening. In addition to the public hearing, city staff held 5 budget workshops with council that were open to the public. The total general fund expenditures are estimated at $76.9 million. When considering all funds included in the fiscal year 22-23 budget, the total expenditures approximate $132.6 million. In addition to the general fund, this budget includes the special revenue funds, the internal service funds, the water and sewer fund, the debt service fund, and the debt service fund. The finance department does recommend approval of this item, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Council, do you have any questions for Ms. Tien? Councilmember Nevels.
Thank you, Ms. Tien, for reading that in. I just want to say I know that this has been a long process. It's been a long year building this budget. I know we've had several meetings already, but I just want to say how excited I am about this budget just because of everything that we're facing in the world right now. I feel like that the team has done an amazing job. And when I say the team, I'm talking about Mike's team and the entire city staff really going in, trying to streamline everything that they can, trying to minimize influences of inflation and things like that. So I just wanted to say congratulations to the city for putting together what I think is an outstanding budget.
Thank you.
May I entertain a motion, please? Councilmember Neville.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve agenda item 11 and approving the ordinance to adopt the budget for the city of Coppell.
Thank you very much. And a second from Councilmember Hinojosa Smith. All in favor?
Long, Hinojosa Smith, Carol, Nevels, Jen, Matthew in favor, none opposed, the motion carries.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item number 12. This is considering an approval of an ordinance of the city of Coppell, Texas, levying the ad valorem taxes for the tax year 2022 at 0.518731 on each $100 assessed value of taxable property, on which 0.441836 is for operations and maintenance, and 0.076895 is for interest and sinking, and authorizing the mayor to sign. Ms. Tien.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So now that the budget has been approved, the next step is to consider approval of a tax rate that will fund the budget that was just approved. Therefore, the item being presented for approval to adopt the fiscal year 22-23 ad valorem tax. The agenda item references, again, as the mayor stated, the published rate of 0.518731 per $100 of assessed value. The property tax rate is the total of the maintenance and operations, and the interest and sinking rate of 0.44 .41836 and .076895 respectively. The rate is .061269 cents lower than last year's property tax rate. And as a percentage, the proposed tax rate is 10.56% less than last year's total property tax rate. The property tax code's truth and taxation legal requirements for setting a property tax rate have been satisfied, and the approval of this ordinance is required to fund the City of Coppell's fiscal year 22-23 annual budget. Staff does recommend approval of this ordinance, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. But before we go to that, I would like to point out that in addition to all the work that you've done, this is below the voter approval rate. It's below the no new tax rate, and it also is going to be an average savings to our average homeowner. And in addition to that, it is the lowest tax rate that the city has had since at least 1986. So congratulations to this staff and this council for enabling this. This has been a tremendous year of overcoming some obstacles, and you guys have all done a great job. So congratulations. Mayor Pro Tem. Oh, absolutely. I thought you were going to talk or say something, but a motion is always appreciated.
Yeah, I would add, it's great to see one of the lowest tax rates in 30-plus years in the city of Coppell. With that, I would move to approve agenda item number 12.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Councilmember Long, all in favor?
Long, Hinojosa, Smith, Carol, Neville's, John, Matthew in favor, none opposed, the motion carries.
Thank you very much.
So Mayor, if I could say one more thing.
Well,
Historically, there's a third item that you vote on, and that would be the ratification of the tax rate, which is required under Local Government Code, Section 102.007. However, this year, because the budget is actually raising less property tax revenue than last year, the ratification of the tax rate is not required. And I just wanted to make sure that you're aware of that, so next year, if there's a different scenario, you'll understand why, and you'll understand why you didn't do it this year, but you had to last year. So I just wanted to make that clarification for you.
Thank you for the clarification, because that's something that I don't think we've run into recently, so thank you very much.
Not in my 22 years, so.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item number 13 is beyond the 3 sentences that I allow myself to read, so I'm going to ask Ms. Mary Perone Boswell to read it into the record.
Yes, sir. Item 13 is a public hearing. Consider approval of PD 301R2-HC, a zoning change request from PD 301R-HC to PD 301R2-HC to revise the concept PD for the overall development of the site and allow for a combination of retail, restaurant, offices, medical office, banquet center, and daycare uses on approximately 10 lots on 16.766 acres of property located at the southeast corner of Beltline Road and Dividend Drive at the request of Beltline Properties LLC, being represented by Kirkman Engineering. So good evening, Mayor and Council. Item 13 is a public hearing. This is one of the few properties located on the east side of South Beltline Road, just north of I-635, that is in Coppell. The eastern perimeter of the site is the city limit between the city of Coppell and the city of Dallas, or as we know it, Cypress Waters Development. To the west is Caliber Home Loan Office Building and the New Point West Development, which contains retail, restaurants, and hotels. Over the last decade or so, this property has been intermingled with other surrounding sites conceptually, such as the Quick Trip that's located to the north of it, and a multifamily request, but has not had any plans or change in zoning approved until 2020, when Dave & Buster's came forward with a proposal to build their headquarters on a 6-acre portion of the property, but those plans fell through. A Spring Hill Suites hotel was approved at the southern end of the site along Hackberry Road. So this 16.766 acre tract stretches along the east side of Beltline Road from Dividend to Hackberry. The proposed concept plan identifies 10 lots ranging in size with a variety of retail, restaurant, medical office building fronting on South Beltline Road. There's a combination of quick-serve restaurants, or QSRs, with drive-throughs and sit-down restaurants with outdoor patios. All the pad sites along Beltline Road with restaurants are proposing a drive-through component. The 3 lots at the rear of the property are proposed to contain larger buildings ranging from 1 to 3 stories in height. These pad sites will also have a combination of retail and restaurant. One of the pad sites at the back of the property is proposed to be 3 stories tall and have an office component as well as proposed daycare facility. The daycare facility has an outdoor shaded children's play area proposed at the rear of the building. There is a variance requested for the daycare facility to not require a circular drive drop-off area. So parents will be required to park and walk their children into the building. A similar request was granted for daycare at MacArthur and 121. The final lot is proposed to have a 2-story building with retail and restaurant and outdoor dining, in addition to a banquet facility on the 2nd floor. Another PD condition is that the development, all future lots require a site plan, a detailed site plan. So parking for the site was calculated per lot. According to the concept plan, they are meeting their parking requirements. A requirement of the HC district is that no more than 50% of the parking be located in the front yard. This site is constrained by the fact that it has 3 frontages. The applicant has provided a very generous landscape buffer along these street frontages, as well as a linear park in the center of the site. Staff does support this front yard parking request. In terms of access, there are 2 driveway entrances proposed along the site on Dividend Drive, 1 along Hackberry and 3 along South Beltline Road. The main entrance will be mid-block on the South Beltline Road. Staff did require a traffic impact analysis for this site. 2 deceleration lanes are proposed at 2 of the 3 South Beltline entrances, and a right turn lane from South Beltline Road onto Dividend Drive will also be constructed with the city reconstruction project of South Beltline Road. The Victory at Coppell site contains 10 lots that share common design elements and materials. There are 3 different bricks to be utilized, 1 gray, while the other 2 are more beige in color. In addition to the brick, the facades will be a combination of stucco and architectural panels with metal copings and awnings, as well as glazing. Because there are a variety of materials and colors, each building will share a common theme, and staff would expect that the restaurants follow these colors and materials. What you see on the screen is retail building A and B, which front on South Beltline Road mid-block and will line the main entrance onto the site. The developer has indicated that these 2 buildings will be the first to be constructed. The building on the left, identified as Building C, is to be located at the rear of the site on pad site 6 and will be 1 story. The building on the right, identified as Building F, will be located fronting on South Beltline Road at the corner of Beltline and Hackberry. This building is proposed to be a medical office fronting on South Beltline Road as well. This building is proposed to be the middle building at the rear of the property, 3-story with retail, restaurant, and outdoor dining. Offices in addition to 11,200 square foot daycare with outdoor play area. So this property is designated as Freeway Special District on the future land use map. The proposed variety of uses are compatible with the Freeway Special District. The landscape buffer along South Beltline Road has been enhanced and will range from 30 to 60 feet in depth and 30 feet along Dividend and Hackberry. Overstory trees will be placed in this landscape buffer, along with a variety of plants, shrubs, ground cover, placed in a meandering landscape bedded area. The same design is proposed to extend along Dividend Drive frontage. Additional overstory trees are proposed along the remaining perimeter and parking areas of each lot. So dividing the front half of the site from the back portion will be an enhanced linear park. The enhanced landscaping will start at the main entrance from South Belline Road westward, then at the center of the site it will spread north and south. This area will be amenitized with a 5-foot sidewalk, benches and arbors situated along the path. Grass, trees, shrubs, and seasonal color will line the path. The path extends to the Spring Hill Suites site on Hackberry. Staff has also discussed the possibility of placing some art sculptures in this area as well. They are looking to add some lighted columns in the main drive area off South Belline Road, as illustrated on the image, as well as, I believe, on Dividend Drive. One of the PD conditions will require that the details of the focal point area require staff approval and shall be in place prior to the CO of the buildings at the rear of the property. This site does exceed the amount of landscaping required by ordinance. So with this picture, don't be startled, the signs are larger than they will appear. Just to give you some idea of, so the little red dots are actually where the signs will be located, and the little red squares. So as depicted on the sign plan, the developer is proposing to have a variety of signage on site, including 2 individual monument signs with a brick base 4 feet in height, 40 square feet in size, a multi-tenant monument sign with a brick base 44 feet in height, 40 square feet in size, 2 multi-tenant monument signs 6 feet in height, 60 square feet in size, 3 multi-tenant monument signs 10 feet in height. Although there are no specific wall signs were presented with this submittal, they will most likely be adding wall signs onto the buildings, and the applicant does understand that all signs will need to comply with ordinance requirements. Staff is in favor of the proposed signs. So this just outlines where they're planning to put the signs. And this illustration gives you some perspective as to the size or the height of the signs that they're proposing. So A is 3 signs, both at the ends and 1 in the center, and then the rest are monument signs. So this is a public hearing, a zone change request. We did send out 8 notices within 200 feet as required by state law. We did send out an additional 2 courtesy notices within 800 feet and received no responses. Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval of this subject request with the following conditions. 1, that there may be additional comments during detailed engineering review. 2, that a final plat will be required. 3, that a right turn lane be constructed on South Beltline Road. 4A, all signage shall comply with city regulations. 4B, plans for the linear park shall require staff approval. C, the focal point artwork shall require staff approval and shall be in place prior to the issuance of a CO for the buildings at the rear of the property. D, that a POA shall be required prior to the filing of the final plat. E, the detailed site plan shall be required for the development of any of the lots. F, a tree survey and tree mitigation, if any, shall be required at the time of detailed plan development. G, daycare shall be allowed and shall not require a circular drive. H, the parking shall be allowed in the front yard as shown. I, restaurants with drive-through shall be allowed as shown on the concept plan. J, to allow monument signs as presented. K, to allow a banquet hall. Staff has been working with the applicant on the traffic impact analysis, which was not available at the time of the planning and zoning meeting. Based on updated information from the TIA and internal discussion, Staff will require number 5. A traffic signal shall be required at the intersection of Hackberry Road and South Beltline Road. That is the end of my presentation. Available for questions, and the applicant is in the audience as well.
Okay, this is a public hearing, so I will open the public hearing. Council, do you have any questions for Ms. Boswell? Councilmember Neville.
There, thank you so much for your presentation. Just a quick question about the traffic signal. Do we have any concerns about traffic backing up to the 635 signals and stuff and things like that? What does that look like?
I will let engineering handle that question.
Here he is.
He was coming down.
He's like, traffic signal question.
Yeah,
There we go.
I was going to ask the same question because it seemed to be a little close.
It is closer than what we typically would like to see, but there is enough space that we do have the signal timing would work out that we can move traffic through the intersection without any problems. It's not an ideal spacing ideally is a quarter mile, but we have other locations this is about 465 feet or so from the intersection, which gives us room to be able to coordinate the signals.
So are you going to be able to coordinate the traffic signal at Beltline and 635?
That's correct.
Since that's a text dot signal?
That's correct, yes. We've been working with Irving in order to, because Irving maintains those signals there, and so we work with Irving to get those signalized time.
I look forward to the day.
Thank you.
Councilmember John?
Thank you, Mayor. I think this question is actually for Mr. Garza. Beltline construction, the road construction, I remember I talked to Ken, and at that time, we were trying to do the sidewalk all the way across, and I think this is the property that actually declined for us to do the sidewalk. Was that correct?
It's further north. This property
was part of it?
easement, yeah.
Okay, because I thought this was the one that,
Yeah, further north is declining the easement for the sidewalk. This area is providing an easement to add the sidewalk.
okay, and they're providing it, or are we doing that while we're doing the road construction?
They're providing the easement, and based on the timing of construction, it would probably more than likely go in with our project. So we're coordinating with the developer on the timing of all things associated with their project. If things work out right, we would prefer to build some of those things with our project rather than having them come back and tear up what we built. So more than likely it'll be with our project.
And that was already taken into
Correct.
consideration? Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Carroll?
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Garza, this is traffic light question again. So I had sort of the same question, but asking sort of the opposite. If the traffic light wasn't there, what would, I guess, the impact be to that area? Because I'm assuming, is it safe to assume it would be even worse if there was not a traffic light there?
If there was not a traffic signal there, we would have what we call a level of, a service level of F, which would be a huge impact to that intersection and to Beltline Road. The alternative is they would all go up to Dividend through the development to head south if they needed to. If we were to leave it as is with the hooded left turns that we have planned for the project, we would have a service level of F.
Because at the moment, if you're going west on Hackberry, you cannot turn turn south onto Beltline, correct? You have to go right.
That's correct.
And I guess it would remain, but with the lights, you'll be able to go left.
With the full intersection, we would open that up so that they could go south.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thanks.
Mayor Pro Tem Bijou?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I'm reading the memo. It shows 4 people approved from the planning and zoning. So 3 members were absent?
Correct.
Okay, and one more question. Number 5, the traffic signal shall be required at the intersection of Hackberry Road and South Beltline Road.
Yes, sir.
So the analysis was done or pending?
It was done. So since they were working through that at the time of P&Z, and then have since finished that, and that was the result of the TIA.
So PNC did not review the analysis?
No, we did tell them that they were working through the analysis, and the results of the analysis say that a signal light at that intersection would be warranted.
So how would we know if they have any concerns, PNC?
Well, they did ask some questions, and we talked about what we had looked at already in terms of entrances on Dividend. And I believe we discussed that we were looking at that intersection and what we could do. But obviously the TIA wasn't fully analyzed at that time.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Hinojosa Smith?
Thank you, Mayor. Traffic patterns are what concern me around this area. So can you just walk me through so I can visually see, I'll tell you what concerns me. Daycares, and the daycare and the drive-throughs, and how all that, like just the patterns, like just walk me through that if you don't mind.
Let you do the daycares.
Because it said because P&Z said they does not require circular drive-through, right?
Right, so.
So it would be no drop-off, it'd be, you have to park and.
Right. And so there are other daycares in town where they do that currently. Traditionally, a daycare is on its own lot, and they'll have like a porte-cochere with a drive-through area where 3 cars can kind of line up and you get out and you walk your kid inside. With this, because it's integrated into a building, so you would park at the back of the building, I believe is what they're looking at, and coming in through the back, because that's where the play area is.
Okay, I think that's what I was trying to understand. So
That's my understanding. The applicant is here, so he could probably provide more information.
I'm sorry. And then the buildings that are used that will have drive-through and how they.
Correct. Those are the ones up front on Beltline.
Okay.
So definitely the
So that's,
QSRs.
4, 5, where I see 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Correct. So starting
Right.
at Dividend, that's a QSR with a drive-through. I don't know if you can see. Where number 4 is another quick serve restaurant with a drive-through.
There's a QSR, yeah.
Number 5 is a retail restaurant, which does have a potential drive-through component. Number 6 also has a drive-through component. 7 has a drive-through component. 8 is a medical office. And 9 is retail with a drive-through component.
Okay, so I guess maybe it's Mr. Garza, like any concern from an engineering perspective, from just flow of traffic through the.
They've done a good job providing circulation throughout this
Okay.
site development. The daycares on the north side, or that would be the east side, the top side of the page. So it's separated from the restaurant and retail and drive-throughs on the west side of the property. So, but they'll be able to identify where their drop-off is.
Okay, because I just think of like pick-up and drop-off times, right? So you're 8 and 5 o'clock. Okay, thank you. That's all for now.
Council, any other questions? Does Kirkman Engineering have any comments?
Hello, Council. Bobby Mendoza. I'm here representing the owner on the property. I don't have any comments, but I'm here for any questions that you all might have. So I can start with the daycare. You're welcome. So the daycare is kind of like a Montessori STEM-based school program. Their business model is actually that you got to go in, check in your student, park, drop off, and leave. So they do not require in their prototype to have a porte-cochere or don't have a need for that. So the way we would handle that in the development is designate some parking along the back and along the side there so that they could park, come in, drop their students off, children off, and then do the same for pickup.
looks like we have no more questions. Thank you very much.
Okay, no problem.
Council, any other comments? This is a public hearing. We had no one signed up to speak. So council, if you have any other comments or questions, we can move with the Councilmember Neville.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to close the public hearing and approve agenda item 13.
With conditions.
With conditions. Thank you.
Second by Councilmember Carroll. All in favor?
Longino Smith, Carol Neville's Dunn, Matthew in favor, none opposed, the motion carries.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Item number 14 is a public hearing, so I open the public hearing. And since this is another long one, I'm going to ask Mr. Steer to read it into the record.
Mr. Mayor, Council, good evening. This is item number 14. It is a public hearing to consider approval of case PD 181R3 SF12 Larson Residence and Garage, Bethel Road Estates Edition, Lot 1R, Block 1, a zoning change request from commercial, retail, and Plan Development 181 Revision 2, Single Family 12, to Plan Development 181 Revision 3, Single Family 12, to approve a detailed site plan for an existing single-family residence with a 300-square-foot addition and the construction of a 4,000-square-foot accessory garage structure and modification of the front yard fence on 2.065 acres of land located on the north side of West Bethel Road, approximately 325 feet east of Hearthstone Lane, at the request of Raymond and Virginia Larson, being represented by Greg Frinka, GPF Architects, LLC. So this is located on the north side of Bethel, across from the Reserve subdivision, where Park Road intersects Bethel. In January 2000, Council approved a request to change the zoning from commercial to Plan Development 181 SF12 to allow the development of 2 residential lots on 3.2 acres of property. The easternmost half of the subject property, right here, well, the easternmost half contains the current Larson residence. The western half of the subject property has a residence and is considered legal non-conforming because it predates the zoning that's on the property of commercial and retail. The Larsons built their current residence in 2004 on the eastern portion. They purchased the western portion in June of 2018. They're proposing to combine the 2 properties into 1 lot, remove the privacy fence that currently separates the 2 properties, then demolish the home from the western portion, and then build a 4,000 square foot, 30-foot high accessory garage structure in its place. A 300 square foot addition is also planned on the front of the eastern residence, and a sidewalk will connect the residence to the garage and a new driveway for access. The portion of the driveway on the south side of the garage will be constructed of grasscrete, which will be better for the survival of the 35-inch oak tree. The existing fence on the front of the yard is proposed to be modified from iron to a solid stone and will match the existing fence on the eastern portion of the property in terms of material. At various locations, the fence will be stepped back to align with the existing fence to the west, and then a new pedestrian gate area is proposed on the center of the property, and then a new pedestrian gate area will be installed where the driveway is, and the gates will open into the property, and the gate or the fence, the wall will connect in with the existing wall of the current residence. The west property is represented on the tree survey, and they do plan to save all the trees. There are a significant number of trees, 10 specimen trees on the property, ranging in size from 24 to 36 caliper inches. As depicted on the proposed floor plan, the accessory structure will be used for the storage of antique cars owned by the applicant, and a small washroom and a kitchenette with a refrigerator, microwave, and sink are proposed within the structure and are listed as a condition of the PD. Typically, an accessory structure is not allowed to have plumbing. The proposed structures will match the existing home in terms of material and architectural style. There are different options that are being shown, all of which are acceptable and recommended by the staff. Here's two alternatives utilizing matching stone to the existing home, and these have additional garage doors on the front. 18 notices were sent out to property owners within 200 feet. We received 3 letters in favor, all complimentary of the Larsons' current residence and the proposed plans. We did receive 1 with concerns related to the construction, citing that there are white bulk debris bags sitting at the back of the property for an extended period of time. They were asking for a temporary screening fence to be sure that no debris ends up in the creek, and they were wanting it to minimize the impact of her property's view while the project's under construction. From what I understand, the white bags are actually contain construction material that's needed for the wall construction. Silt fence will be required for the perimeter of the construction site to ensure no material escapes, and a screening fence is not required for the construction of the site. We did send out 105 courtesy notices within 800 feet. We received 2 calls asking about the zoning sign on the property, 1 emailing a response stating that it will be a beautiful structure and that he was in favor of the request. The Planning and Zoning Commission unanimously recommended approval of this request, subject to the following conditions. 1, there may be additional comments at the time of building permit. 2, building permits shall be required for all proposed buildings, structures, paving, and fences and walls. 3, to allow for a washroom and kitchenette in the proposed accessory garage structure. 4, to allow the accessory building height to be 30 foot as opposed to the maximum 12 foot required in the zoning ordinance. 5, to allow an option of either cement, plaster, or stone on the accessory building to match the existing home. 6, to allow stone screening wall within the front yard as previously permitted on the eastern half of the subject property. And 7, to allow grasscrete as an acceptable material for the driveway south of the structure. That concludes my presentation. I'm available for questions, and the applicant is in the audience.
Thank you very much, Mr. Steer. Council, you have any questions for Mr. Steer? Mayor Pro Tem Matthew.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I'm reading at the memo, it says city attorney met with the staff and Larsons and recommended that revision of the existing plan development was the proper way to request the desired improvements. Can you please explain that?
Okay, well, there's numerous ways that they could have tackled this request. They could have done a standalone plan development, but because they already had a plan development in existence, they went to amend the current plan development.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilmember Neville.
Thank you for the presentation, sir. Just a quick question. What is the, the 12 foot is the standard height of the accessory building. And, I know their proposal is 30 feet. What's the purpose of allowing it up to 30 feet? Just curious about that.
Well, so that's actually 30 foot to the peak. And because this is a planned development district, for whatever reason, we show it to the peak of the structure. Typically, a residence is allowed 35 foot to the midpoint of the roof. So if it's a gabled roof, it's to the midpoint of that. So it's not going to look out of place. Accessory structures are typically, a lot smaller. So yeah, it's just a technicality that they had to put in as a PD condition.
Is this just to help it match the aesthetic of the main building?
Right, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Seeing no more questions from the dais, does Mr. Franca or Mr. Larson have anything to bring forward?
Good evening, Mayor. Greg Franca, GPF Architects. Regarding the white bags, those are sand material that were left from extensive retaining walls that were constructed on the inside, the outside curve of the creek to prevent all the erosion, and then that's going to be used when the wall is rebuilt along Bethel Road. And to pick them up, I mean, it's a yard of sand. You can imagine what it weighs. So it's very heavy, and so they're just left there until the wall is constructed.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. I had a question, actually. What is grasscrete?
It's think of a concrete block that's open. You put it in the ground so the grass will grow in it, but it still allows you to drive on it, and it doesn't, you won't sink.
Okay, thank you. I'm familiar with it. I just didn't know the name of it. Okay. Council, any questions? Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Franco.
Thank you.
This is a public hearing. We had no one signed up to speak for the public hearing. So, Council, are there any other comments or final questions? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion.
Mayor, I have one question. I am concerned, and I wasn't at the P&Z meeting.
Can you turn your microphone on, please?
Yes. Could I speak into it, is really what you meant. It was not. Since this is such a large accessory structure, I think it would be appropriate that there, one, be no human habitation in it, because now you have 2 dwelling units on one lot. And then, at some point in time, could it be converted into a living quarters? And if it is, then that would require, what you've traditionally done is require it to be separated into a separate lot. Because the Larsons have no plans to do that, but we're writing this regulation for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years when they may sell the property. And I want that expectation handled today, not have to worry about putting the toothpaste back in the tube.
So are you suggesting that we add another stipulation that does not allow human habitation of the structure?
Yes.
All right. And just that simple.
I mean, it has a bathroom in it, so I don't want someone putting a kitchen in there and someone living in there. They don't have any plans to do that, but if they were to sell this for some reason, someone else, if there's no limitation in the PD, they could potentially do that and have an argument that it's not prohibited. Now, we do have a requirement, you can only have 1 dwelling unit, okay, on a lot. This will be 1 lot. But since it's a PD, I would rather us address that so that it doesn't create any expectations on the Larsons, any future purchaser or future council. And we've got the ability to take care of it now, so let's do so.
We appreciate that here today. Okay. Council, I'll entertain a motion. I'm being pointed down this direction. Councilmember Hinojosa Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to close the public hearing and approve item 14 with the conditions noted by planning and zoning as well as our city attorney, Bob Hager. Or I guess all conditions. Or how do you want me to phrase that?
That's fine. It's that the accessory building that's approved, the 4,000-foot accessory building would not be allow or permit human habitation.
To be, okay.
So as stated?
As stated by our city attorney, Bob Hager.
Yeah, so I'll write that.
You'll write the language out.
So I'll write it in, but it'll say that it cannot be used for human habitation or otherwise used as a dwelling unit.
Agreed, and that runs with the land. Yep. Okay, yes.
Thank you, and I have a second by Councilmember Long. All in favor?
Long, Hinojosa, Carroll, Neville's, John, Matthew in favor, none opposed, the motion carries.
Thank you very much. Item number 15 is to consider voting for a candidate on places 6 through 9 on the Board of Trustees of the Texas Municipal League Intergovernmental Risk Pool and authorizing the mayor to sign and complete the ballot. This is signed over to City Manager Mike Land. We do have 4 positions that we can nominate and vote on. We have two that are being, I guess, well, I'll let Mike talk at this point.
And I thought you were going to take care of that.
I did.
Okay. In position, I am listed in place 8, and in place 9, Opal Modern Jones, who is the city manager in Lancaster, who is also a member of Region 13, which we are a member of, and she's city manager in Lancaster. I'm sorry. So.
And.
What?
A graduate of Texas, or Leadership North Texas, class number 5.
And graduate of Leadership North Texas, number 5.
Thank you.
Okay. Is that the best class ever?
It absolutely was.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Anyway, so we have it marked for Opal and for myself in terms of the recommendation for council. There are no other Region 13 members in place 6 or 7. So we do not know of the other members if you were going to cast a vote for them.
Do you want us to vote for you?
I would request that that vote be for Opal and for myself, yes.
We get paid?
No, it is not a paid job. It's another volunteer job.
There's no share?
This is the intergovernmental risk pool that we hear about every now and then. Councilmember Nevels.
Thank you, Mayor. All right, I move to vote for place 8, Mike Land, and place 9, Opal Malden Jones.
Thank you. Do I have a second from Councilmember Carroll? All in favor?
Longino, Smith, Carroll, Nevels, Dunn, Matthew in favor, none opposed, motion carries.
Thank you very much. All right, item number 17 is the mayor and council reports. I had one that's, oh, I'm sorry, I'm being reminded that I'm skipping over the city manager report. Item number 16, Mr. Land.
Wow, get one vote and just just get your tail out of here. Okay. Mayor and council, thank you. This evening, I just want to report on several projects. Signal work at Bethel School should be complete by the end of next week, and then the pavement can then be finished up after that. So we're still talking about basically near the end of October, being able to open up the Bethel School intersection with Denton Tap. We are working with Encore and the City of Louisville on electric service at Denton Tap and 121 intersection. That is expected to be done this week, and so that too, that intersection also should be completed by the end of October. The end of October, lots happening. Beltline, the traffic switch for Beltline to the west side, where the new pavement is scheduled for the end of October as well. So I think I heard, I don't think Mike, I hear we're about 10 months out, I think, is what the expectation is for a Beltline. So once they get after it, they get after it. Boards and commissions applications are open through October 7th. The city is currently seeking residents to be part of 9 boards and commissions that help guide development, future needs, regulations, and more for Coppell. Applicants must have established residency in Coppell for at least 12 months and be registered to vote in Coppell. You can learn more about each of the boards and commissions and apply at coppelltx.gov/boards. The Moore Road Elevated Boardwalk is out for bid, and the bid should be opened September 22nd. And I believe it was on September 9th, the community survey closed, and we had 1,969 surveys completed. Wow. Remember, the goal was 400, the initial goal. I know y'all had a goal of 2,000, so we got close. That's all, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Item number 17 is now the mayor and council reports. I wanted to take a moment and let everyone know that last Wednesday night at the Arts Center, the Dallas Symphony Orchestra performed for us here in Coppell, and it was really, I can't imagine having the Dallas Symphony coming to Coppell, but they did. They had a wonderful performance, and the comments from the musicians that played spoke very highly of the facility, so I was very pleased to hear that. It's on Let's see, now, as you probably are aware, it's time to check your voter registration. The last day to register for the November election is Tuesday, October the 11th. Visit coppelltx.gov/election for more information about the upcoming election, to check your status and get registered. We will be holding a special election that to consider two propositions: whether or not to continue a 1/4 of 1% sales and use tax for the maintenance and repair of municipal streets for a 4-year period, and whether or not to continue a 1/4 of 1% sales and use tax for the crime reduction programs for a 10-year period. This early voting begins on October 24th, and Election Day, as I stated, is November 8th. Visit the same website, coppell.gov/election, for more information. Then on Sunday, September 18th, from 2 to 3:30 p.m. at the Cosby Library, you're invited to attend a Latin American folklore and dance program to celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month. This is presented by Tex Latins Incorporated, and it's a fun and educational program that will feature folklore from Mexico, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Colombia, and Venezuela, along with traditional dance programs. This event is sponsored by the Community Builders, which consists of city staff and community members interested in promoting cultural diversity and diverse programming for members of the Coppell community. Registration is not required, but don't miss it. Then on Saturday, September 24th at 7 p.m. in the Old Town Coppell, grab a delicious dinner from a local food truck and enjoy a night of music in Old Town. Fans of all ages and backgrounds can sing along to epic rock from Queen, Muse, Pink Floyd, The Killers, Led Zeppelin, Nirvana, and more. This will be at the Sunset Socials Music in Old Town, featuring Eric Unplugged. Item number 18 are public service announcements. Do we have any public service announcements from the council? Which the Sunset Socials? That is September 24th, Saturday at 7 p.m. Any other? Okay. We had no necessary action from the executive session, so therefore we are adjourned at 8:45 p.m.